You're joining me here with Nathan Van Coops. Nathan is someone how long have we been friends, Nathan? Three something years? I don't know.
At
Something
least,
like
yeah.
something like
More,
that. Three,
more,
four
probably
years.
four. I don't know. Probably four.
Yeah, sometime around there. We're he's a
Ongoing.
ongoing. Yeah, damn it, ongoing. He's a fellow time travel author, a very accomplished time travel author, and has a hugely successful series called, which is the whole series itself is named after the first book, which is In Times Like These, which is set in St. Pete. And if you just dip your head slightly, Nathan, yep,
Just
there
the
you
St.
go.
Pete hat. Yeah.
He actually he actually merchandises these baseball caps as well. He's multi-talented and never misses a trick. Even his iPhone has. This is amazing. His iPhone actually has.
This is true. I
There
do
you
have my
go.
little book
Yeah,
cover on there. Take a
there
straight
it
look
is.
at nathanvanCoops.com.
Is absolutely the man is a genius, an absolute
I
genius.
don't know about that. But
Well, I think so. I mean,
all my best ideas someone else had first. That's what I was. But I'm an
uh,
excellent copycat. How about
well,
that?
I was going to say, isn't Oscar Wilde said something about genius steals or something? Something
Something
copies,
like that.
genius
Yeah.
steals. There you are.
Yeah.
But in times like these, has been a series I've hugely enjoyed over the years that it as it came out, and I've been very privileged to have been a beta reader of it as well. And also your latest work, which was Fast and Falling. Um, Within times like these, you've had. I mean, I think Chronothon is the standout success in that, isn't it? That was a huge time travel adventure.
Yeah, and it's probably the one that's because some people jump straight into that one
You
and
can't blame them.
just enjoy. No, yeah, it's a great story. It's the time travel adventure race, which I hadn't seen done before. It was such a sort of simple idea, but when I first had the idea, I'm like, someone has to have done this already. But I searched around and couldn't find anything. So I said, this is definitely the story I want to tell. It was a lot of fun. One of my friends called it the time travel sampler, because it has a little bit of everything in it. A lot of history, some futurism, um, touch of zombies, a little bit of everything in there. So of all the adventures I could pack into one story, I did, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was actually quite strange to come across a zombie segment in a time
The
travel
alien
book.
zombie section, yeah.
And I'm sure
But
someone's going to steal that idea right off you. And good luck to them.
yeah,
It's a colossally good idea. But
it
sorry,
was
go on.
fun, yeah. And I think it was one of those things that time travel in general, I always talk about this as a it's an open door that you walk through, and then as soon as you walk through it, there's 1,000 other doors, because you have all the past, all the future, all of time, multiple universe. I write in a multiverse, so you've got parallel timelines and alternate realities and histories and stuff. So there's almost nothing you can't do once you walk through that door. And it's just, I could write for years and years in that universe and be happy, I think.
Yeah. How have you found it in terms of keeping track of what's happening in your various branches of time? Because
It's very difficult.
there
Yeah.
are one or two people without doing any spoilers. There are one or two bad people who are trapped up a dead end branch
Yeah,
at
true.
and they're kind of stuck there.
Yeah.
How difficult are you finding that to keep track of all this kind of metaphysical stuff going on?
Oh, it's a knot in your brain all the time, and I have to go back and reread the earlier stories every time I try to write a new one, just to make sure that I've got my own timeline straight and I'm not messing up my own story. Because my worst fear is to write a new novel and publish it, and then have some reader say, you just totally contradicted yourself from book one or book two, and you made this up and it doesn't match.
I'm
So
glad that's not just me then.
no, yeah,
I'm
and
glad
I
because
write these god awful long stories too. So it's not. I've been listening to the audiobooks to refresh myself, and they're 14 or 19 hours long, these books. So it takes a while to get caught back up to speed before I start writing again. So
so you don't have a little cheat card next to you where you've noted down what Ben Travers, the hero, the main protagonist, has been doing all the you don't have a little
didn't
card
I ever tell you
system?
I was disorganized, Mark? Did that
Well,
not ever?
yeah,
It's one of
I
those things
should.
that I I try to organize now, but I should have been organized the entire time, and I wasn't. I thought I was going to write maybe one story, and then, 4 novels later, got 3 other novels started, and it's getting out of hand. But I do need that master binder of time travel, timelines, and yeah, I need it desperately. So if I could travel back in time, I would tell myself, before you go, take better notes.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't have to sit there and reread your books all the time.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, I wonder actually, and this is just a general public service plea going out here now, an APB. There must be someone, one of your fans, who's going to watch this interview, who's probably read some of the books 2, 3 times, and if they could get in touch with Nathan, and if they could find a précis, if they could find it within their hearts to write a summary for Nathan.
All the bits and pieces. There's actually a service. I ran across a service that is called Book Bible, I want to say.
Okay.
Where this person will create a book Bible based on your series. They will go through and list all the main character, they'll read your book and they'll take notes of all the characters, all the things that happen to these characters.
So it's like an indexing service.
Yeah, it will create basically an index of your book for you. And apparently that's a service that is
okay.
Last I checked, was quite expensive, but
I was going to say, presumably you could put that up on something like Kindle Xray. You could populate Xray with it or something like that. I don't know. Xray is something that I think a lot of independent authors, I don't think we've dared try yet. I took a look at it.
I haven't done much of it.
But as with you, it would require just this immense amount of work and organization, and I can't quite bring myself to commit to something nightmarish like that.
Yeah.
So you
just stick to the writing.
Yeah. So, but before we started the interview, we were talking about a couple of things really. You very rarely for you managed to write a story under 135,000 words recently.
Yeah, that was my accomplishment of yesterday. Last night, I put the finishing period on the first draft anyway of my first novella ever. I have never managed to write anything short. So I wrote a little new spin-off story. It's going to be called Clockwise and Gone. Okay. And it's one of the characters from In Times Like These does appear in it, but as a sort of cameo guest star.
Spoiler alert!
Special guest appearance by one character, but the rest is new story.
You're allowed to tell us which character, or
this is actually a Carson appearance.
Okay,
Carson,
I remember Carson.
For those people who have gotten as far as book 3, he sort of finds himself in this role of freelance time travel investigator, going off catching bad guys who are up to no good in time. And this is one of his little side adventures. So I thought that was just a fun concept. I mean, Ben, my main character, has his own arc going. And he typically, at the end of an adventure, just wants to go home and hang out and get his normal life back. That's been his typical desire. So he doesn't necessarily want to wander off and become a time travel investigator. But it was such an interesting idea. I liked the concept of someone who was just out there independently policing time. And so Carson gets to have some fun with that. And, there's a brand new character who is involuntarily thrown into this world. And it's a lot of fun to kind of come back at it from a novice perspective again, like I had in Times Like These, where I had this group of friends just thrown into this adventure unawares and knew nothing about it. Yeah. So it's fun to go back to a character like that who doesn't understand this world, doesn't know how it works, doesn't know the rules, and then has to survive in it. And I think that's just a lot of fun. It was good for me to get back to that space.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of joy in there for the reader in that they're discovering that through the so for people who might want to get into your world without committing to reading something quite so big, would that be a good entry point then for people?
Absolutely,
once you publish this?
Yeah, you'll get all the basics of how the world works. And one of the things that I think was different about my series that a lot of people have commented on is there's a very specific rule structure
Yeah.
to time travel. It's something that it's not just press a button and magically appear somewhere. It's press a button because you planned ahead, knew where you're going to end up, and knew that there was nothing else in the way, and then you'll magically appear there. It's not. There's planning involved. There's space in addition to time. So I was very careful about creating a structure that wasn't just, willy-nilly bouncing around the universe and expecting nothing bad to happen. Many bad things happen to time travelers in my world.
Actually, I was just going to say at this point that one of the other guests, Benjamin Wallace, I think I'm right in saying, has written a novel called, or a book called
I just saw
the rules of time travel. Yeah,
I need
yeah.
to read that apparently. Check
Yeah,
it out.
I haven't read. Yes, yeah. I mean, so a good guide for fellow authors.
Yeah, maybe.
Ben will rescue you if you go off course in your plot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So after the last publication in ITLT series came out, you then went down the route of uh, young adult, I guess you would call it, which is
It
faster
ended
than
up that way.
falling.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
Faster Than Falling wasn't actually, I didn't write it specifically with a young adult audience in mind. I wrote it with an adult audience in mind, but using young adult characters.
yeah,
I mean, when I was a kid, these were the kind of adventures I wanted to read. When I read Treasure Island, for example, when I was a kid, I didn't think that's a young adult novel, even
sure.
though technically it is. It's a young adult character going off on this adventure, but we just think, well, it's just a book. It just happens to have a young person as the main character. And that was kind of where my head was at in writing this story. But Faster Than Falling was the first story I ever wanted to write. And it was just too big. It was a fantastic world of sky pirates and, a species of people living in the sky in a sort of sky ocean, aerial ocean with, plants and animals and things flying around. And, it was just a really fun world to create and explore and introduce people to. And I'm definitely looking forward to writing more books in that series. There'll be at least 2 more books in that series. But the
Yeah,
first one is a standalone by itself.
yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed it. When do you think? I mean, I know that you and your wife have an additional member of the family due in the next 3 to 4 months. But when do you
hmm
think you might get around to books 2 and 3?
I've got them started. I've got book 2 started. I've probably got 4 or 5 chapters down. But I am going to try to write books 2 and 3 all the way through together and then publish them in fairly short order after each other because I think I think book 2 may be less standalone. I think it'll be more of the bridge. It's The Empire Strikes Back. So you got to have it may lead more directly into book 3. So as much as I like to write standalone adventures, the way this particular story is shaping up, it may be just a complete trilogy. And I would like to write both of them before I publish them, just so I'd have all my ducks in a row, and make sure that the whole series is what I want it to be before I publish it.
And also internally consistent as well.
What's that?
Internally
Internal
consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you need that.
Well, at least you've only got one timeline to deal with. But
Yeah,
so you're actually
exactly.
going to write both of them, books 2 and 3, pretty much simultaneously.
Yeah, I'm going to try. Well, at least straight through. I'm just going to try to continue right on from 2 and 3 into 3 and before publishing. Just because when I do finally come out with book 2, I don't want people to have to wait too long for 3.
Actually, yeah. I mean, that was a mistake I made last year. I'd finished book 4 of my Doctor Howe series, and I said to a friend of mine, I said, I could finish the entire series by the end of this year if I just continue now. I thought, but I fancy taking a little bit of a break, and of course, what happens,
Same password.
everything was so fresh back then, and
Yeah.
it was a really bad mistake. So yeah, I think you're doing the right thing to just, plow on through, keep that momentum going.
hmm
And then you were also talking about a fourth novel, a fourth full novel in the
Hmm.
ITLT series. So
Yeah.
not that you've got anything on your plate at all, much really.
And that's not even
Starting.
all of them. I've got a whole other
Yeah,
series
I know. This is what
writing as well. So.
bamboozles me. I just you clearly are a time traveler, because I don't know where the hell you're. Are you stealing time from the end of someone else's life or something, and then just tacking it into your days or something? I mean, you're getting it from
Yeah,
somewhere.
I just cram it all in little places wherever I can find it. And you can ask my wife, she will complain that my head is always, full of other things, and my mind is frequently wandering off to these other adventures all the time. So
Oh, but
she gets to drag me back to reality every once in a while.
but as I've said before, Nathan, not many wives have the luxury of someone who actually decides, a husband who actually decides to sit at a desk all weekend and doesn't kind of, she doesn't have to think, which golf course is he on, which bar is he
Right.
in.
Yeah.
This is a guy, plugging away earnestly
Hmm.
on something that, instead of it being a hobby that sucks up thousands of dollars a year,
Hmm.
this is a hobby that's actually making you, a fairly decent living. That's.
Right. That is a definite benefit. I think she does appreciate that about
And
this
hey,
particular. Yeah.
you're famous too. I mean, you're one of St. Pete's more famous sons, I would have thought by now. I mean, you're.
I don't know about that, but in the author community, it's been nice. I've been doing a little bit of teaching locally with some other people starting out and teaching a little bit of marketing classes and things like that, and trying to share what I've learned from all the other authors that I've sort of come along with for the ride. April, who you talked to, has been a big
Yeah,
mentor of mine for years and years. All the people that started out in the time travel group on Goodreads, that I was involved in years and years ago. It's been really cool seeing this trajectory of authors and seeing this community grow and how everyone's progressing. And now that I've been in it for a few years, I don't feel like the rookie anymore. I don't feel like this is I feel like I know a few things. I don't know it all, but I know a few things at this point. It's not my first experience with writing, and I'm excited to see where this whole independent publishing revolution goes. And
definitely.
I think it's been a wonderful thing for readers just to be able to have direct access to the authors and say, hey, yeah, I want to read your books as soon as they come out, or hey, let me read it before they come out. I want to be on your beta team, or I want to interact with you directly with social media and name characters and get really involved. And there was always this arm's distance that publishing had kept the readers at before. And now it's this. Now it's chit chatting and reading each other's books and just having a real community. And I love that.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of interesting, since we've sort of got onto that subject, is it's interesting to find out how many traditionally published authors are now going independent.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the real
Well,
that's the
there's a
real
big difference.
story.
We were talking about this before you started recording about the idea of treating it like a business. And it's no longer when you have your own business, you don't want to just hand it off to someone else to manage. You want to take as good of care of it as you want to. Like, you're the one in charge. And I think it makes sense for a lot of independent authors or a lot of traditionally published authors to say, hey, you know what? I want to do this myself now. I have developed a reputation or a name for myself, and I want to now reap the rewards. Why should I be giving away all this money to a publisher who, maybe isn't providing the service that they used to? And I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful time. Some people are doing both, a little bit of traditional, a little bit of independent. But when they don't, if something doesn't quite work out traditionally, then, turn around and go direct, go straight to your consumers. If the reader wants a good book, and at the end of the day, if you can put out a good book and they enjoy it, that's all that really counts. And it's a wonderful time to be a writer. I'm just very excited about it. So I think it's just going to continue to be good times from here on out. I hope that's the dream anyway.
Good times. Yeah, that's yeah, that's probably an apposite couple of words to end the interview on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great talking to you, Mark, and I really appreciate you being interviewed. This
Yeah,
is great.
thank you. Thanks very much for your time, Nathan. All the best. Cheers. Bye.
See ya.
That was my good friend Nathan Van Coops. Always a great pleasure to speak with him. If you sign up to his newsletter at nathanvancoops.com, you can get a couple of free books. He's always got a lot going on, so do make sure you sign up so that you don't miss out.